Saluti a tutti, and welcome to this episode of Ciao DMV, Italian American Life in the DMV. My name is Joseph Barone, and I will be your host. This podcast channel is dedicated to all things Italian and Italian American in the DMV, aka DC, Maryland, and Virginia. My focus is on the Italian American experience, from family stories to little-known history to businesses and to cultural events. Today, I am pleased to present to you an interview with Thomas Regnante, one half of the Two Dudes Who Love Food blog. Thomas and his brother Charles started a food blog in July of 2011, and it ran until June of 2018. What is amazing is that they started it when they were quite young. Tom was 11 and Charles was 13. So let's get right into the interview. Okay, so welcome, Tom. Tom, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm a proud Ellicott City, Baltimore native. Grew up around the area, went to Centennial High School. I went to DC for college. Grew up in a strong Italian American household, and I've always been a part of Italian American organizations, from my high school Italian club to the Lido Civic Club of Washington, D.C. today. And I'm a proud foodie as well. So I'm happy that I'm on the podcast here to answer some of your questions about my food blog.
So I'm really glad, because I remember you telling me about that you had this food blog. So let's go back to the beginning. How did this idea of a food blog for you and your brother come up?
Yeah, it was funny because I distinctively remember it was the summer of sixth grade, and my mother was trying to get me to not have my brain rot over the summer, essentially, to do something academic, productive, to keep the brain juices flowing. And she's like, well, you have to do something. And my brother and I were really obsessed with, the internet. We think it's cool. It was fun at the time. This is 2011. So we're like, well, what can we write about, or what can we do? I mean, we like food. We know that people would probably listen to 11, 13-year-old talk about food, not economics or maybe something we're not qualified. So we're like, why don't we just write like a food blog, like a weekly thing, so we can practice our writing skills, satisfy my mom. It's just like a fun summer writing project. And my mom was like, sure, let's do this. So we started it in 2011, and I think in 3 months, we just saw we got a lot of traction for having a new perspective to food blogging, since I think the average at the time was, you think of someone running a food blog as maybe a 40-year-old mother, if you will, who's writing and has time experience. So I don't think it's really been done from a teenage perspective, and we got a lot of traction. So we decided at the end of the summer, let's keep going.
So let's do that. What did you call it? What was the name of your blog?
It was really, it was Two Dudes Who Love Food. But what's really funny is when we started, it was called How to Chow, and we didn't realize another local blogger was called How Chow. So in the first 3 months, we actually upset a decent amount of people, and they're like, you gotta take the name down. I'm like, well, we named this after a student film. So we changed it to Two Dudes Who Love Food, and How Chow became kind of a mentor for us.
Okay. And how did you wind up paying for this all? Because going out to eat, even if you ate pizza or fast food, there's a cost to that.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing of an answer, because I started this at 11 and my brother was 13. So usually my parents took us out to eat as teenagers. But was a cool development was, as we progressed, I did it from 2011 to 2018. So over 7 years. I think, like, after the first year, we got a decent amount of restaurants asking us to come in for free, review the restaurant so we can publicize it, grand openings. It was probably about 30 to 40% of the review. So we didn't become totally dependent on, okay, we're getting free food all the time, but it was a decent amount. So.
Okay. And where did you post these reviews? Was it on, where did you post them?
Yeah, it was on, I think, blogger.com or Blogspot. So that was, I feel like, the main avenue when we started 2011 to post these reviews. We briefly flirted with the idea of having a WordPress, and we almost had our own independent WordPress site, but turned out to be a lot more complicated. So.
And so, how often did you do one of these reviews? Was it every week, every other week?
Yeah, I would say the first 4 or 5 years before I started focusing on how to get into college. I did it about once a week, so every month we tried to have at least 4 posts, and that was either restaurant reviews, healthy how-to videos, so our own some form of original content, like, we weren't reposting other people's content, but once a week usually.
Okay. And did you also post photos of the food you ate?
Yeah, it be honestly, it became a systematic process after doing this for so long that I usually would start by just editing and posting the photos first into kind of the you can think of it as like a Word document, if you will, like platform. So I'd be like, okay, and I let the photos kind of do the story. So I would
Mhm.
post the photos of the exterior of the restaurant, a picture of me in front of it, maybe me with a waiter, the decor. So we factor that in as well. Then the food, and then some closing thoughts. So a lot of the frustration just became arranging photos, frankly.
Okay. Okay. And now you said at first you had some bad reaction because you named your blog similar to another one. But overall, the reaction you said was good.
Yeah, I think I mean, we weren't gonna be well, one, I think the reaction was good because there was you're tapping my memory here, but there was another blogger called Adventures of a Cootie, I think, who we thought as he came slightly before us. So to our knowledge, it really was about 2 bloggers who have this teenage perspective. So I think that just us being unique in that sense and a first mover gained us a lot of traction and a lot of positive reviews. So, I mean, we did get some, like, I guess, quote unquote, hate comments about, like, oh, maybe I don't view that, but it was maybe like 10-20%. It wasn't anything like too crazy.
And did you respond to the comments, or you just kind of like, okay, yeah, they love this, great,
We
they
It was
hate us,
funny
it's
because
okay.
it was almost like my brother and I were doing this, and we kinda had our mom be our manager in a sense to, like, maybe review definitely when I was in middle school, like, hate comments, things like that, but it was like 10% of the time, I don't think we responded to them, no. I mean, if they had something about if it was literally about the food, yes, I think I would be like, "Oh, maybe that's a good note." And I would say overall, you might be getting to this in another question, but, like, how would you do the reviews? Like, did you have any bad reviews and stuff? I don't think we ever gave, honestly, like, a 100% bad review. I would say, like, maybe some place has a bad food, but we always tried to find some redeeming factor. Like, if the decor was cool, it was a cool restaurant, maybe it was a bad time for a service, or we tried to go a second time back to that restaurant just to make sure and give the restaurant a benefit of the doubt. So, the truly bad reviews were few and far between. So, we weren't like controversial food bloggers, so
So I've heard that from other foodies who if they go to a restaurant, even if the food is bad, they'll try not to really make it a terrible review. They'll try to find something redeemable about that particular restaurant. And was there one that stuck in your mind that was like, "Oh, this is so bad. I don't know what we're gonna write about."
there wasn't anything that was, like, truly a horror case in the sense that, like, in my mind, I would think, like, it took us an hour to get the food. All our order was completely wrong. It was cold. Everything was terrible. But I think I'll give you an example. So something I remember this restaurant called Petit Louis, which has, I think its main location in Roland Park and has a second location that opened up in Columbia, Maryland on the waterfront. And I think we went in like 2014. And if I remember correctly, I think the service was quite long. It's a French restaurant. And I think I got like a ham, jambon le beurre sandwich. It was like ham and butter. And I think I was a little disappointed for how plain maybe it was, and maybe it's, a little expensive. It's French food. So I didn't, like, exactly rave about the food, and I think the service was quite long, so I remember at the time that being probably my lowest review. I had some people say, "Oh, I agree with your opinions," and people say, "Oh, I totally disagree. I totally love it." So it was a little polarizing. But I remember I think, like, 2 years later, I went back on, like, a funny enough, but I take French school field trip, and we went to the restaurant. I was like, "Oh, this is actually pretty good." Like, it was a prefix menu and stuff, so I, like, even commented on the review. I was like, "Oh, we came back and I didn't get to try this." So I think it redeemed itself. But yeah, I mean, maybe if someone gave me a recommendation for a total hole in the wall, that could maybe get like a 1 out of 5 review. But I don't think we went to places like that.
This brings me to the point. Tell us what you looked for when you went to the restaurant.
Yeah.
What were the things that you looked for?
Yeah, I will say I'll start off with this. I think a lot of people try to do like a number rating. Like for every review, it has to be, I'll have 4 criteria and I will rank it in this quantitative ranking. So at the end, you get, like think of Dave Portnoy from Barstool
Mhm,
Sports. He's
mhm.
like, it has to be out of a number. And that's how I rank everything. So everything's relative to each other. So we did more of a qualitative approach. I mean, we were writing. It was a block spot. But I think if I were to like systematically in my head think about it, it would be one, the appearance of the restaurant, outside, the inside, the seating area. Some places are a little fancier, some places are hole in the wall, so you kind of take the relative atmosphere of the cuisine it's portraying into account there. The service, that was something we always took into account. If we had a really witty waiter, he was really funny, we always gave them credit and wanted to mention that. Food obviously was the most important part. So, if we got any appetizers, main courses, desserts, even a couple of times if they have like a dessert they're just showing it off. We didn't order it, but like it's close to the door. We took a picture of that. Be like, hey, come back and try the dessert.
Mhm.
So I think those would be probably the three biggest categories that we stuck to.
Now, as crazy as this sounds, when I go to a restaurant, especially a place that I've never been before, I always check out, as crazy as it sounds, the bathroom. Because if the
Yeah.
bathroom is clean, relatively clean, doesn't smell bad, then the chances are, yeah, the restaurant is gonna be pretty decent. And did you do that too, or no?
No, I will say the only thing related to bathrooms that I find interesting is I think we had a review of Le Diplomat here in Washington, DC,
Mhm.
and it was quite an interesting bathroom because I think they have these vintage, like, photos of women in lingerie from, like, the 1950s and 60s, and it's, like, kind of like a racy scene for a ba it's plastered over, so it's like you're going to the bathroom and you're like, "Oh my gosh, like, this is the bathroom?" So that's the only bathroom of notice that I've had in my adventures, but that's not a bad idea about, the overall cleanliness of a place. That's something I haven't thought of.
Okay. So in your reviews, and you probably did what, a couple of hundred reviews easy?
Yeah. I had close to 200 reviews. I'm trying to think of, like, what I put on my resume back in the day.
So 200
Yeah.
reviews over what, 7 years? That's still
Yeah.
a good number of reviews. Was there 1 or 2 restaurants that stood out like, "Oh, this was the best place I've ever been. I mean, this was just phenomenal. I would come back here in a heartbeat." Were there any like that stood out like that to you?
Yeah, I will say I'll give you, like, a foodie answer and then, like, a personal answer, and
Mhm.
then actually I'll give you my answer now. So I'll give you a three-parter. What's really funny, I distinctively remember back in 2016, my brother lived here at American University. I remember visiting once, and I tried kava for the first time. So for the viewers who don't know, I think by 2016, kava wasn't public. It wasn't mainstream. It felt like its own indie restaurant chain. I was like, oh wow, they're doing Mediterranean fast casual. I mean, no, I don't think anyone's really doing this. It tastes great. So I was kind of early hipster adopter of kava. And what was funny is when they opened up in Columbia, Maryland, I was invited to their grand opening. And I raved about this place to all my friends after I tried. I was like, oh, this is so cool. So they invited me, and I have a post waiting in line at the grand opening, getting the free food, talking with people. So I thought it was amazing. And I'm still a big kava supporter to this day, but that's something that's kind of cool before they became mainstream.
Cool.
Uh, the actual foodie take, let me think of what I like. You got any cuisines in mind that you need any good
So,
reviews? Because there's
okay,
good
let's
there's good
try
food all over. So,
sure. So let's try Italian. Was there
yeah.
one that was like, "Ah, this was the best ever?"
Mhm. It's funny because mainly we branded the blog as something that we do in our community, and I grew up in Ellicott City, Howard County, so most of the reviews are in Howard County, Maryland, or some in Baltimore, some DC, and in our travels. but I found that because we ate Italian so much growing up that I don't think we went out to that many Italian places in Howard County or any that now I would rave about. Like, if you ask me now, I don't think I have an official review, but using my foodie expertise and I think my credibility, I would say Di Pasquale's in Baltimore, Maryland is like has my heart and soul for an amazing Italian restaurant. My goal is to try everything on the menu. I've only done sandwiches so far, and it's this place where it's been around for 100 years. They know what they're doing. There's always lines of like a Saturday, so you have to get there kind of early. Pizza, sandwiches, pasta, you can get takeout. Everything is good. I don't have any complaints about how the quality of anything. I would say relative to New York City, it's punching really above its weight high on the Northeast here for Italian.
How about Asian, whether it be Chinese or Japanese or Thai?
Yeah,
Any
there was a good place that my mom really loved, and I wrote about in it's called Thai Aroma, I believe, off of Route 40. It was fun too because I think we had a cool relationship from one of the waiters. He always gave us really good service. He knew we were food bloggers, so we would joke with him and we'd say, "Oh, you have to go see him." I don't think he works there anymore, but that was really fun. And I think for Thai food in general, I don't think it's had hard time having a truly bad experience at a Thai restaurant. I think relative to other cuisines, I think the bar is usually quite high. So
and did you do any, like, little hole in the wall places? Do you remember any of them?
yeah, I do. Mm.
I know I'm
I
making you
don't I
rack your
don't
brain
remember
here.
specifics, but I do remember, like, I think we did food trucks. I think I have a review back, like, 2013. I remember there was, like, this Belgian waffle, I don't remember the name, but Belgian waffle food truck that if you search to love food, Belgian waffle, it will come up, and I was like, "Oh, man, how come nobody's talking about this?" Again, this is I feel like it's so long ago that some things like food trucks, like Cava were just so nascent at the time that I was so blown away, but I feel now are possibly commonplace, so
Okay, okay. Now thinking back, so here's a question as we start to come towards the end of the interview, unless there's lots of other things you want to talk about. As you think back over that period of years, there are actually 2 things. One, how did it wind up coming to an end? Did you kinda have this feeling that, "Oh, I know it's coming to an end, me and my brother, we talked about it," or we we both got interested in other things? How did the blog sort of come to an end?
Yeah, it's funny. I I don't live my life in regret, but I think I do regret having the blog come to an end. It was about my sophomore year in college, and I think I actually wanted to turn it into like a TV show at my university. And I was like, "Oh, I think the median was moving from writing blogs to it's not TikTok, but like a video format." And we did a lot of videos for
Mm.
the channel, and I recognized that would probably attract a bigger audience and stuff and being an influencer in that set, but I don't think it got approved for my university. And I think the business acumen I gained from the blog, we use Google AdSense. I'm not rich from it, but like I kind of learned a little bit of how you make money as a creator and stuff. Evolved into make doing pitch competitions at my university, GW. So I was doing business pitch competitions. And I kind of transferred some of the business skills I learned from the blog there. So it kind of evolved in a bit, but I mean, we had 7 years going. We were kind of, respected, and now you see a lot of these food influencers in DC, in Baltimore, and I do deeply regret that I didn't continue it to be kind of on the first adopter really of that scene. I guess I could start it now, but who knows? I really think about, keeping it going or going to a video format even now since I just really love food and have so many hot takes about food. So, to be determined.
And so I guess you had the niche that you guys were teenagers, 11 and 13, and I think that kinda set, like, a really something special, but thinking back now over that period of time, was there anything other than maybe moving into video that you would have done differently?
Oh, let me think. Yeah, I mean, we did some videos, so but I think making that a bigger focus would be something. I mean, a lot of the times we just had fun with it, to be honest. I mean, it was writing reviews. I got my friends involved. I got my teachers involved when I had the chance. So in middle school and high school, a big part of my life. People were like, "Oh, you're one of the dudes who love food." Like people recognize me in high school, in sometimes out and about, like maybe once or twice. And someone's like, "Oh, you're one of the." I'm like, "That's crazy." So I was, balancing that with, being a kid, being a teenager, being a high schooler. So
Mhm.
I think I did the balance right. I think because there are definitely some times where my mom had to help us out. A we're in a book actually. It's called Future Chefs that we were interviewed and we had to give a recipe for with all these other teenagers across the country. Then we gave like a mini press conference on Twitter and that was a cool experience. So I think
Ooh.
I did enough where it didn't consume my life. I had homework and stuff to do on the weekends from school, but I was like, oh, I had to get one once a week done. But I don't know. I mean, it's a hard question. I think I did it right. I just really wish I continued, I would say.
Okay. So let's just kind of wrap this up. So, one, can you give our listeners and can you really nice and slow what again is the name of your blog? Can you give that once again?
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, it's called Two Dudes Who Love Food blog, and it's still up there. It's I feel like in archival mode because everything from our inception is still on that blog spot if you type it today. And to be determined if it returns in a different form. So this might just kickstart my career, Joe, into coming back to it. So
Well, we hope you do. I think it'd be fascinating to for you to do it again and then go back and compare, like if some of the restaurants are still open, go back and compare after all these years and see how you look at things differently too. I think that would be fascinating.
I couldn't agree more because I keep kicking myself because I'm like, being one of the first people to do this, and like I said, you see all these TikTokers and influencers. It's very commonplace now, but at the time it wasn't. So I feel like if I came back to it, I would have a lot of credibility as someone who already built this up and has now come back to it. So to be determined. But there's in the meantime, there's a lot of good people doing good things,
Mhm.
like your daughter Joe who have good food takes, who are keeping the world busy. So
Busy. So, so Tom, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for sharing. And I know I'm going to go look for it because I had a hard time. I couldn't find it. I could find some articles on it, but now I'm
really,
really going to go look for it.
yeah, it's funny if you search my name for the longest time, it was mostly I just put in the chat here,
Mhm.
but it mostly was the food blog related thing. So like interviewers now, if, for jobs, would still ask me, it's like, oh, did you have a food blog back in the
Mhm.
day? I'm like, yeah, you probably searched my name in Google.
Well,
And,
look, and there's nothing wrong with it.
no, no, it's
It's a
not
great
bad
thing.
press. It's not embarrassing. I
No,
really
it's
enjoy
not.
that part of my life. So
It's not. It's a great conversation piece. It really and truly is. I think, and that's why when you mentioned it to me and I started this new podcast, I said, this is going to be a great thing to do. These guys, the brothers who had a food blog, who were really hot, well known in the area. I said, this is a great piece to do. Kind of look back and see what went on.
yeah, sure.
Well, thank you so much, Tom. Thank you so much. Sorry, Charlie couldn't join us. I understand he's busy, got
Okay,
lots
you
of
you
other
you
things
have you have
going.
one of the dudes who love food. So
Wanted to do something. So once again, thanks a lot, Tom.
thanks, Joe.
It is my hope that you've enjoyed my conversation with Tom Regnante, one half of the Two Dudes Who Love Food blog. And you can still find their food blog online. Go over, take a look. It is great. If you're interested on being on this podcast, please feel free to contact me at chowdmv@gmail.com. And please remember, if you enjoyed listening to this episode, please take a moment to like, comment, subscribe, and even share with a friend. This is Joseph Barone, your host, signing out. Ciao, DMV.